Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are getting right into it, tackling one of the biggest questions for anyone who wants to start investing. How do you actually make your first move in real estate? Are you going to play the long game as a landlord, or are you going to go for that quick win as a flipper? Let's break it down.
So here's how we're going to do this. First, we'll cover the basics, the 4 real ways real estate actually builds wealth. Then we'll dive deep into Path 1, becoming a landlord. After that, we'll explore Path 2, the life of a flipper. We'll put them side by side so you can see the real differences, help you figure out which one is right for you, and wrap up with a reality check on today's market.
Before we even start talking about renting versus flipping, we need to ask a more fundamental question. How does this whole thing even work? Because it's not just about a house going up in price. There are actually 4 different financial engines working for you under the hood.
Right, let's build our foundation. These 4 pillars are absolutely essential. It doesn't matter which path you choose, you have to understand these core principles.
First up, you've got cash flow. Just think of this as the property's monthly paycheck to you. After you pay the mortgage, the insurance, the taxes, any repairs, whatever's left over, that's cash in your pocket, pure profit, coming in every single month.
Next, we've got appreciation. Now, this is the one everybody knows about, right? It's when your property simply becomes worth more money over time. Maybe the neighborhood gets really popular, or maybe you did some smart upgrades that push the value up yourself.
And then there's my personal favorite, equity buildup. See, every single time you make a mortgage payment, a little piece of that chips away at your loan. This is basically a forced savings account. You're building wealth automatically, month after month, without even lifting a finger.
And pillar number 4, this one's a game changer. Tax benefits. You get to deduct all sorts of expenses, like your mortgage interest and property repairs. Plus, you get this incredible tool called depreciation. It's basically a paper loss for wear and tear that can seriously lower the amount of tax you owe.
Okay, so now we know the 4 ways to build wealth. Let's see how you can put them to work with our first strategy, becoming a landlord and playing the long game.
If you're going to be a landlord, this right here is the number you need to live and breathe, your cash-on-cash return. It answers a really simple question. For every single pound of your own money that you put into a deal, your down payment, your closing costs, how much cash are you getting back each year?
Let's make this super simple. Say you put in 50,000 pounds of your own cash to buy a place, and over 1 year after all the bills are paid, you've made 4,000 pounds in profit. Well, you just divide that profit by your initial investment. Boom, that's an 8% cash-on-cash return. It's so powerful because it tells you exactly how hard your money's working for you.
All right, let's switch gears and look at path number 2. This is a totally different way to build wealth. Welcome to the faster-paced, higher-stakes world of the property flipper.
Flippers have their own golden rule. It's called the 70% rule. Now look, this isn't a law, but it's a critical rule of thumb that successful flippers use to figure out the absolute maximum they should pay for a property to make sure there's enough room for profit.
So how does this actually protect you? Well, imagine a house that'll be worth 300,000 pounds once you're done fixing it up, and you figure it's going to cost you 50,000 pounds in repairs. The rule tells you, do not pay more than 160,000 pounds for that house. Why? Because that gap, that 30%, isn't just profit. It's your buffer to cover financing costs, real estate agent fees, and all those nasty surprises that pop up during a renovation. Okay, so you have the steady landlord who's obsessed with cash-on-cash return, and you have the speedy flipper who lives by the 70% rule. So for a beginner, how do these 2 strategies really stack up? Let's put them head to head.
This table really says it all. The whole thing boils down to a trade-off. As a landlord, your goal is that predictable income, and you get to use all 4 pillars of wealth over a long period. A flipper, on the other hand, is basically betting everything on rapid appreciation, hoping for one big payday. But that comes with way higher risks, 0 cash flow while you're working, and you usually need a lot more cash up front. Okay, so that's the what, but now we get to the most important part. Which of these paths is right for you? And the answer really depends on your personal resources. And I'm not just talking about money.
First, let's talk capital. If you don't have a lot of cash saved up, don't worry, you're not out of the game. You could look into things like wholesaling, where you find deals for other investors, or investing in REITs, which are kind of like mutual funds but for property. Now, if you do have enough for a down payment, then a traditional rental or a powerful strategy like the BRRR method become fantastic options.
But it's not just about the money. You got to ask yourself some honest questions. How much time can you actually commit to this? Because a flip can feel like a full-time job. What are your skills? If you don't know the first thing about renovations, flipping gets a whole lot riskier. And finally, how much risk can you stomach?
A flip can go south real fast if the market turns or your renovation budget explodes.
All right, before you get all fired up and start making offers, we have to ground ourselves in the reality of the market right now. Because theory is one thing, but making it work in the real world is another thing entirely.
Look, no matter which path you take, your success hinges on buying the right property. So when you're doing an inspection, these are the absolute deal killers. A big diagonal crack in the foundation? That's not a cosmetic fix. That's your entire profit margin vanishing. Old wiring? That's a fire hazard. These aren't just things to negotiate on. These are signs to walk away.
And that brings us to the elephant in the room, the question that's on everyone's mind in 2026. With the cost of borrowing so high, does it even make sense to try and get in the game right now?
Here's the truth. Today's market is tough, no doubt, but it rewards investors who are smart and disciplined. You can't just buy something and hope it goes up in value. You have to find properties that make money, that have positive cash flow from day one, even with a higher mortgage payment. The key is to be conservative with your numbers and focus on quality, not on get-rich-quick schemes.
So there you have it. We've covered the 4 ways real estate can build your wealth. We've broken down the playbook for being a landlord and for being a flipper, and we've looked at the hard realities of the market today. We've given you the map. The only question left is, which path are you going to walk?